I thought it would be fun, and I thought it would be interesting to talk about something that's movie related, but something that you don't really see a lot of people talk about nowadays, and that is scores, film scores, and specifically a film composer, a legendary film composer. My personal favorite film composer, and my good friend's favorite film
Yes,
composer,
absolutely.
the late, great Jerry Goldsmith. Now, I think, now when a lot of people think of film composers, a lot of people automatically think of John Williams. And I gotta say, John Williams has done some really great stuff. I meant to post a Wikipedia link, but duh! um,
I got it.
but yeah, okay. It's live, folks. Not editing this out either. So enjoy. So, so yeah, a lot of people think of John Williams. And he's done some great scores: Jaws, Superman, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, Hook, Home Alone, so on and so forth. But John Williams tended to do a lot of big budget, big films. And yeah, it's because those are some of the best jobs for a film composer. Best paying jobs. But he also, to me personally, he's not as diverse or as flexible in terms of his compositions as Jerry Goldsmith was, or other composers like Alan Silvestri, Basil Poledouris, who's another extremely underrated film composer who did the scores for RoboCop, the 1987 film, and for films like The Hunt for Red October. So those are the composers that, James Horner tended to recycle a lot of his music, but he did a lot of good scores too. And may he also rest in peace.
Hmm.
But Jerry Goldsmith was always my favorite because of his diversity and because of his flexibility and with his scores. Also the fact that he did all kinds of different movies, He did exploitation scores for exploitation movies, low budget films, canon films. He had a whole wide range of scores. And so what I'm doing here is I'm just looking through. I'm not gonna stuff that's like anything before the late '70s. I'm not really not really that.
Well, yeah, we can't talk about every single
No,
score. It's done
but I
so many.
definitely want to mention The Omen. That's a score that is very well known, for good reason. The over the top, bombastic score. It's not one of my favorite scores from him, by Jerry, but it is definitely a memorable score with just just symphony of chaos is really the best way to describe it. Then you have. Do you remember what his score was like for The Swarm? Because I completely forgot he did the score for that.
Yeah, I enjoy it. It had that. I mean, for those who don't know, the Swarm was the same group of people that did the Poseidon Adventure and those big
Yeah, Irwin
disaster
Allen.
movies of the '70s, Irwin Allen, and it had that big, bombastic. And that's not the word, but it had an epic feel to
Hmm.
it, and I love the Swarm. I know that gets a lot of hate. Uh, for a movie about killer bees, it was a pretty epic movie. Michael
I think
Caine
I
was
saw it a
really
while
good.
ago and I did have fun with it. It was a bit long, but
Yeah,
yeah, I had fun with it. It's better than the
I know there's a,
bees.
I know there's a shorter version,
Hmm.
and then there's a longer version.
The bees is
But
terrible with John
yeah,
Saxon.
I think yeah, that's the one where they turn the bees gay to
I
stop.
told my parents this and they're like, "That's just stupid." That's,
Yeah,
they're like, "That why?" Like, I don't know.
yeah. The Swarm is a very early underrated score by Jerry Goldsmith. It's epic. It's very well done for a film about killer bees. It
Hmm.
has a great scope to it. And not only do I like the film, but Jerry Goldsmith did a wonderful job with that.
Yeah, and of course you have Alien,
Yeah, of
which is
course.
one of his finest efforts. 1979, he did two really great scores, phenomenal scores, arguably two of the best scores from that year from any film, from any movie. Alien and Star Trek: The Motion Picture. But yeah, Alien had this nice dissonance to it, and it really did a great job capturing the mood and atmosphere of the film.
Wasn't the thing he got mad that they did something to the end? Like
Yeah,
they used a
yeah,
different
yeah,
piece of
something like
music?
that. Yeah.
I forget what it was. I swear maybe it was another thing he did
Hmm.
or someone else. Like the end credit music. But the score is, yeah, it's a wonderful score. It's He didn't win an Oscar for that, right?
I don't know if he did or not. Let me see.
Try and wonder who won the score for. If those two didn't win, what the hell won for best music Oscars?
Yeah, it doesn't look like it did win.
I'm curious now. Why?
Yeah, I'm curious too.
Let's see. What? A Little Romance.
What is a little? I never even heard of that movie. What movie is that?
What was nominated? It's a Laurence Olivier, Diane Lane movie, romantic comedy.
What?
The nominations were that, 10, The Amityville Horror, The Champ, and Star Trek: The Motion Picture. So Alien didn't even get nominated.
Was that for 79? Was that for 78?
Well, Star Trek: The Motion Picture was nominated, so that has to be the same year. 79 says they're both 79, right?
Yeah.
A Little Romance, 10,
But the
The
Amityville
Amityville
Horror
Horror.
didn't come out in 79. That's why I'm confused.
Yeah, it did.
Oh, it did?
On
Oh,
Wikipedia's list is 79.
I thought it was 78. My
No,
bad.
it was 79.
Hmm.
And A Little Romance. What the fuck? That's yeah. These are all 79 movies, but not
Alien didn't
Alien.
get nominated? That's bullshit.
No, no, it didn't get nominated. I don't think it got nominated for anything.
I think
Yeah.
it. No, I think
Oh
the
yeah,
film.
Best Art Direction.
Yeah, which it won.
No, it didn't.
It didn't.
All That Jazz won for Best Art Direction.
Special visual effects. Special effects.
Um,
Did it win any Oscars?
doesn't show.
I thought it did win something. I thought it won some Oscars.
Okay, yeah, it did win Best Visual Effects.
Okay. I was wait a second. I knew Alien
It-
won an Oscar.
It won Best Visual Effects. Yeah.
Well, that's the Oscars for you. They're a bunch of stuck-up pricks, usually. Especially back then.
That classic score, A Little Romance,
That
Mike.
nobody fucking remembers.
from Georges Delerue,
I don't remember what he's done before. But anyway,
a French composer. There you go. Even back then, Jerry Goldsmith getting the shaft.
but yeah, Alien, wonderful score. And Star Trek: The Motion Picture, another great score. One of my favorite Star Trek scores for sure. I mean, I like James Horner's work for Star Trek 2 and some other films, but it's just a really nice score that really does fit the overall scope and meaning behind Star Trek. I mean, it really does feel like this is a score that really perfectly encapsulates Gene Roddenberry's vision of the future.
Before we go on, I think people would at least want us to mention he did the score for Planet of the Apes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
As well.
No,
That was a good score.
yeah, it was.
I think the only Oscar he won was for The Omen.
Wow.
That's what it says on
And
this
John
Wikipedia.
Williams
When
has won multiple Oscars, if I remember correctly.
he's been nominated for a bunch, but I think the only one he won was for The Omen.
That's not even his best score.
He was nominated for The Boys from Brazil, Star Trek: The Motion Picture, Poltergeist, Under Fire, Hoosiers, Basic Instinct, LA Confidential, and a shared nomination of Mulan.
Huh.
But
Our favorite score, a lot of our favorite scores from Goldsmith didn't get nominated. That's another reason why.
he did Alien.
No,
That scored it. But yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, Stars of the Motion Picture, like I said, I thought it encapsulated the vision that Gene Roddenberry had for the future really well. The main theme is iconic,
Yeah.
and it's a theme that was used for the next generation. So
Yeah, it's my favorite score of any of the Star Trek films. It's a beautiful score from uh, the soft sort of love type of things between the two of the
mhm.
characters, to that wonderful main theme, to when they show the Enterprise beauty shots, and as it's leaving out of its dock, to the stuff when they're entering V'ger. Incredibly well done score that, yeah, I would say it's my favorite score of any of the Star Trek movies.
I would say it's a great score, and it's definitely up there for me. I also really like his score for First Contact, especially the main titles. So it shows that Goldsmith was able to not only do a great score for the original crew, but also did a great score for the Next Generation crew.
Yes.
And in the '80s, he did some of his best work were in the '80s for me. Uh, Outland, I think that's a solid score. It's a very underrated movie. Great film with Sean Connery.
Yeah, my favorite Sean Connery movie, and it was a score that fit the film very well.
Yes.
As there's Western and outer space, high noon and outer space type of plot.
Hmm.
And Jerry Goldsmith's score wasn't a copy of Alien; it
No.
was its own thing. So he worked well
And
in science
that
fiction.
was something that he did a lot. That's what something that really helped him separate him from some of the other composers, because he wasn't just copying a lot of his stuff. He was doing all different types of stuff. There were some moments where he did, but a lot of the times, if he copied something, it was because that was already something that was established in a previous film. Like if he's doing a sequel, soundtrack, or maybe a few notes here and there. But it didn't really feel like it was like the sheer laziness sometimes that you'd see from other composers. Like I massively respect and appreciate James Horner, but there were moments where he would just recycle stuff. I mean, one of the prime examples is his score for Commando. It's just the same score as 48 Hours.
Hmm.
I don't mind it, but there's only like a couple notes changed. There's not much differences at all.
No, I mean I agree with that. I mean even Project X with Matthew Broderick, there were parts that remind me of the score from Aliens.
Yeah. The Star Trek 2 score is a lot of Kroll. Kroll riding the fire mares. There's a lot of the Star Trek 2 score in that.
But still enjoy
Yeah,
James
still
Horner.
I would still enjoy his work as well. I'm not trying to
Right.
dog him or anything. Then you got Poltergeist, which, oh man, I love that score. It's haunting. It also has a very big heart to it, which really fits the film like a glove. It works really well when scenes need to be suspenseful and tense, and works equally as well when scenes need to be emotional. I could totally see why it was nominated. I don't know what won for best score in '82. Poltergeist kind of got shafted, in my opinion. Anyway, I mean,
I'm
E.T. I think
guessing
won for best visual effects, and the most visual effects that were in that movie were a few things with E.T. making some stuff wilt or whatever, and the kids flying on the bike and the spaceship. But Poltergeist had to do much more on a lower budget, so that's why I felt the visual effects were more impressive in the end.
well, I think it won the score was E.T. I
Man,
think John
E.T.
Williams. Let me double
I
check.
like the Poltergeist score better.
Yeah, it did.
I like the
Poltergeist
Poltergeist
is
score
nominated, but E.T. won.
because E.T. the main theme, but that's all I really remember is da 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 da. Yeah, whatever. I'm addicted to Star Wars there.
I thought they were doing the hook. Da-da-da-da. I thought you were humming the hook thing. I'm like, what?
No. Da 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 da. No. Yeah, I like the. No,
I
Poltergeist
mean,
to me, it's there's more to it. The ET theme, it's just the main theme really, and like There's a few other
Yeah,
bits
but I
of
mean,
music, but
you look at all the movies that didn't get nominated, 82 for score. I mean, Blade Runner,
yes.
Vangelis,
Oh,
Ennio Morricone's The Thing, which got a
yes.
Razzie, or nominated for Razzie at least. Or First Blood, which we'll get to. That was
Yeah.
82, Jerry Goldsmith. I mean, there's plenty of other
Yeah,
nominations.
Poltergeist, love that score. What are your thoughts on score for Poltergeist?
It is a beautiful score. I love the sort of almost like a lullaby.
Yeah.
Uh, da-na-na, da-na.
Yeah.
When the scares are supposed to happen, he pulled them off very well. When it's supposed to be tension, but also he pulled off the sweetness too
Mhm.
when dealing with the little kids
Yeah.
uh, part of the
I
plot.
also
So
thought so yeah, Poltergeist, another definitely one of my favorite scores of his, totally in the top 10. Secret of the Nim, or Secret of Nim, another really great score for an animated film I haven't seen in years, but I know that the score was definitely a standout. The Challenge, that had pretty deep,
yeah,
decent
that's
score.
a decent score that fit the film nicely.
First Blood, another great, iconic, memorable score. I mean, we're using iconic, but that's true. Like, a lot of his scores are iconic.
Yeah, the instrumental version of "It's a Long
Yes.
Road" and the bits when the action and excitement rise up in the store when he's crashing the truck through the barricade, and uh, yeah, the Rambo scores are that Jerry Goldsmith did are definitely, of course, for me, some of my favorites. Part of my name,
Yeah.
my username. So, but yeah, Jerry Goldsmith did a beautiful job. Definitely, if I picked my favorite scores, especially the first two Rambo films would be
Yes.
in that list.
Absolutely. Psycho 2, 1983. Solid score. A lot
Yeah,
of it
fit
was homage to Bernard Herrmann, but that's the point.
but it
But
didn't feel like a ripoff
no, it didn't.
Like the Reanimator score, which I like the Reanimator score, but
Yeah, the more I think about it, yeah, that really does. At times, you watch Reanimator, does sound like Psycho. Yeah, you're right.
it's still a good score. Right?
Yeah. Twilight Zone the movie. The
I don't
score was
remember this one.
fine, but I don't remember a lot of it.
I haven't seen the movie in like
Yeah, I haven't seen
10
the movie in a
years.
while either. Under Fire, I haven't seen yet. Apparently, the score was nominated for an Oscar, so might be
I haven't
really
seen it.
good. So, the trailer I liked. I did get the film recently on DVD. It was a good deal. Got it at a thrift store, and it's out of print, so that was a pretty good find. I didn't know he did the score for The Lonely Guy. That's interesting. It's a Steve Martin film that it's pretty lonely. It's not very well remembered by many. Then you have Gremlins. I just remember that na 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 da 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 da. They did a great job with this carnival esque music, like just carnival funhouse music, which is just perfect for this type of film.
Yeah, it fits the zaniness of
Yes.
what was going on in the plot in the story.
And then he also did in the same year the score for Supergirl, which I think is very underrated. This is another thing that makes Jerry Goldsmith my favorite composer, is because he did scores for movies that a lot of other composers probably were like, I'm not doing that. And he was like, I'll do it. And he wasn't lazy about it either. He wasn't like, oh, it's a paycheck, I'm just going to half-ass it.
I would say that's the best part of the movie is the
Yeah,
score.
the score.
Especially
Yeah,
it's a rousing theme.
it
Yeah, it's an
is.
underrated main theme. When people talk about musical themes, no one brings that up. It's very exciting
It
theme.
is. It fits. It fits superheroes perfectly. It's such a great theme, and it is a nice homage to John Williams's type of music that he did for the Superman films, but it still
And
feels like its
yeah,
own thing.
it's a great companion piece.
Yes. Then Runaway.
In the
So
same year.
in the same year.
And yeah, not only do I love the film, but I think that's one of his more underrated scores.
Yes.
It was him doing more of an electronic score, which was different for him. But I think I I wouldn't call it synthesized. I would say electronic score,
Yeah,
which worked very well. It worked for the story about robots that have gone haywire, and
that was him
it's
stretching. It was him flexing his composing muscles there, for sure.
yeah, and it showed that he could do different avenues in store and succeed. I think the Runaway Store, like I said, I would if I had a top five underrated scores, that would be in that list that
Mine
he's
too.
done.
Like that is a really great score. He also did a score for Explorers. Loved it. It fit the whimsical spirit of the film really well.
The first half.
The first half, anyway. The second half,
No, the score is great, but the first half of the movie
yeah. Well, even the
is
score in the second and the last half of the movie isn't the best because it's trying to fit the wacky hijinks that are going on.
well, when you're watching that, it's like, what can you do?
Yeah.
I
But no, the
mean,
first hour, yes, the score is great.
yeah, when they're building the spaceship, that's one of you just, I would say
When they're building the Thunder Road, yeah.
one of the best pieces he's done.
Yeah, I agree. He
And
did a cut that was.
well, I gotta mention one of my
Oh yeah,
maybe
of
my
course,
so
Rambo First Blood Part 2.
yeah my personal favorite score, but of course my username's Rambo, so it made
Hmm.
sense. But Rambo 2 is one of those movies I watched to countless times. One of my favorite films ever, and the score is one of the epitomes of an action movie score.
Yes.
I mean, it's up there with the Alien score.
It takes the First Blood score and turns it up to 11.
Yeah, I mean, when you have when he's picking off people one by one, and then he's you have the da, 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 da. It's
Yeah.
just such an adrenaline pumping score that you would later hear in the Rambo cartoon. That's how good it was. They put the Rambo cartoon, and
You gotta
I
admit, like that score being in there, the cartoon still sucked, but a little
the
bit.
score was good.
Yeah, the score was good.
Score is what made me keep watching it, even though it was bad. But it's just a wonderful score. I can't praise the score enough.
Yeah, I can't
Love,
either. Like I just wanted to keep the whole theme of talking about the overlooked
right. But I
scores.
just
But yeah,
haven't.
First Blood Part 2. Well, of course, we were definitely going to mention that for sure. That's one of his finest, uh, best scores for sure, and the quintessential Rambo score, definitely.
Yes.
He also did a score for Legend that was rejected. I'm not. This, it's a rarity when I hear a score from his that I'm not super big on, and that's one of those instances. It's not horrible. It's just I prefer Tangerine Dream's score for Legend.
I haven't seen the film enough times to remember it. I've only seen the film like on one hand, and usually I've seen the Tangerine Dream one. So
Yeah.
I,
Uh,
I yeah.
but yeah, it's interesting though to hear his score for Legend. And the European cut is a different film too, so it's like watching an entirely different movie. It's an interesting experience.
I
Then
don't
he
know if
did,
I don't know if I've seen the European cut now that I think about it. Because all I can remember is the Tangerine Dream one.
yeah.
Shit. But go
Uh,
ahead.
King Solomon's Mines. I love this score. It's definitely his Indiana Jones, but
So good it was nominated for a Razzie.
it's not that fucking bad. Like it is a great score. Super, just full of adventure, and
It was cool because it let us hear what he would have done with an Indiana Jones.
yes,
This is his take on an Indiana Jones score, and it's wonderful,
yes, it's
especially the
rousing.
theme.
It's a very rousing score.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun,
Dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun, dun,
dun,
dun,
dun, dun,
dun,
dun, dun.
dun. Yeah,
Yeah.
he did a wonderful job with that.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I've heard that theme so many times because when I was a kid, I mean Poltergeist and Rambo and stuff, but like really before even all those, I was watching King Solomon's Mines and El Quartermain and The Lost City of Gold. So some of my first Jerry Goldsmith scores I remember hearing when I was a kid was the scores for those films. So yeah, that's always up there. It's been in my brain for, and so that was really fun when I met Matt and we were talking about the movies. I'm like, oh, you actually like those films too? Like,
Yeah, I
and
like
then
those.
and then we remember the score too. That was cool. One of our many bonding moments. So yeah, it's a bromance. But anyway, he also did the score for Link, which is an interesting movie and an interesting score.
Yeah, I like the movie.
And
It's
did the score for Poltergeist 2. He did reuse some bits and pieces from his score from the first film, but that makes sense. But then he did a few other things where he added this Native American flair to it, which made sense because you had the character of Taylor. So he differentiated enough that it didn't necessarily feel like it was, or sound like it was just the exact same score. Score for Hoosiers, that's a good one too. Extreme Prejudice in 1987. I thought the score was pretty good, pretty solid. Not one of my favorites of his, but it was pretty good. The film itself is extremely underrated and needs to be released on Blu-ray. And then you have Inner Space, which I love. Great score, great movie. It really does hit all the right notes when it comes to the type of film Inner Space is. Inner Space is kind of a tricky film because there are some serious things going on, but it also has a lot of fun with it, and it's in a lot of ways it's a comic book movie if you think about it. Kind of a comic book movie in the way that its approach is and so on and so forth. So, and it's a comedy. So he does a good job with having certain scenes have a comedic sort of tone to them with the music, and then he also does a good job when it needs to be more suspenseful, like the climax with Ivo or the guy who goes inside Martin Short and is trying to take out Dennis Quaid inside the pod. And I've always really liked the main theme for the film, and the love theme is also really, really well done for Inner Space.
Yeah, he did a wonderful job, and it fit the fun tone of it very
Yes.
well.
We have Rambo 3 in 1988.
Which I like the score. It's not, I wouldn't say it's as strong as the first two, but it's still a very capable, good score. Still has a lot of that nice Jerry Goldsmith feel to it.
And then in 89, he did The Burbs, which is a fun score. It does fit the black comedy vibe of the film really well.
Yeah, The Burbs, it's a fun one where he does that sort of when Tom Hanks gets out of the fire,
Yeah.
and that sort of grand like this heroic theme, and he's all messed up, and he's like barely moving, but it's like this grand music. It's like almost, I know you drove down and went like Ennio Morricone type of feel.
Yeah.
And there's one piece of actual one in the movie, but like that bit, it's like you tell sort of that heroic.
Yeah.
Bow down, 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 down.
Yeah.
It's a joy to listen to.
It is, for sure.
Great movie, too.
Another score that's a joy to listen to is Leviathan, which is really high up there on my list when it comes to my favorite scores from Jerry Goldsmith. And if I made a list of underrated scores by Goldsmith, or just underrated scores, period, it would be on that list.
Yeah, for me, I probably will put this number 2 in my personal favorite Jerry Goldsmith scores.
A lot better. Yeah.
Piece of score, which you can find on YouTube, folks. And for underrated scores for Jerry Goldsmith, I would put this my personal number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who
I like
listened and
the
watched,
opening credits too. The opening titles had this. It was reminded me of Alien, the sort of dissonant sort of thing. But he played with the underwater theme.
yeah,
So
sort of whale, but
yeah,
not quite whale type
yeah.
noises, and
And then of course the better a lot better. Look, how do you feel?
better.
Smack.
Yeah, smack. Better. A lot better.
Yeah. And then so dun 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 yeah, it's a fun
And
song.
also, I would give her a real quick check for folks out there. Check out a user, nice guy named Jack Craven. He actually uploaded the rejected score that Jerry Goldsmith did for Alien
Oh
Nation.
yeah,
He did a score. It was rejected. They got another guy to do the score. It's worth a listen if you go to Jack Craven's
yeah.
YouTube channel.
Honestly, I remember listening to that score a while back, and I liked it more than the score they used in the movie. Like the score was okay in the film, but I don't know. Goldsmith is, I'm trying to think of who did the score for Alien Nation, remember correctly.
Some guy named Curtis Sobel.
Yeah,
Sobel.
yeah. I don't know why they reject his score. I mean, it didn't sound terrible. I mean, it wasn't like the Legend score,
They
which was like,
said that they thought the score was too weird.
it's a weird movie.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's a weird film. Then he did the score for Warlock, but I don't remember too much about it. Star Trek Five. I know you're a fan of the score for Star Trek Five.
Yes, I think Jerry Goldsmith. This is the first time he came back to the franchise because James Horner did 2 and 3, and another person did 4. But yeah, I think Jerry Goldsmith did another beautiful job. It's definitely one of the best parts of Star Trek Five, especially the not only the main title, which is from Star Trek: The Motion Picture, but then this music cue called "The Mountain." It's very soft and very easygoing piece of music. Again, a great piece of music that worked very well. And Star Trek Five, it's a film I can see why people hate it, but I do enjoy the film. I reviewed the film on my channel. I do like the movie, and again, one of the best parts of it is the score. And like I said, when you listen to the main title / The Mountain, that's what it's called on YouTube. Um, for a film that a lot of people don't like, even people who don't like the film, they'll say they at least like the music. And it fits it very well. And, I mean, going to the 90s, you have Total Recall and Gremlins 2. I mean, 2 more solid pieces of music back to back. Total Recall dealt with that dreamscape, what's real, what's not. I think Jerry Goldsmith did a wonderful job, not only with the main theme, but in that dreamy quality to proceedings. And Gremlins 2 was a nice follow-up to his score. Gremlins 1, it wasn't just repeating the same things.
Yeah. Yeah, Gremlins 2?
Yeah, I finished Star Trek 5, and we're talking about Total Recall and Gremlins 2. Those were
Total Recall,
1990.
I remember there were a bunch of different trailers for other movies that just used that score constantly. One I remember in particular is a score for Ace's Iron Eagle 3, which is funny. This movie's just nowhere near the quality of Total Recall. It just opens up the trailer, is like dun 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 dun. You're just But yeah, Total Recall, another score of his I really enjoy. He didn't really do a lot of scores for Schwarzenegger films. I think that was like one of the only ones he did, if I remember correctly, for a Schwarzenegger film.
Might be the only one.
Yeah. I mean, he started off the 90s with a bang with Total Recall and Gremlins 2. Gremlins 2 carries over the same sort of zany, cartoony score from the first film. And it fits the film really well because this film's even more zany and cartoonish than the first movie was. So
Yeah, and now most of these movies I have either haven't seen the movies or I haven't seen them in a while that he did the
yeah,
score to.
Medicine Man I liked all right. I haven't seen it in a while. Um, I don't know what his score for Super Mario Brothers was like. I don't think I've
It
heard
was
any.
rejected, it says.
Yeah. The score that they did go with though by I think it's by Silvestri, right? I think it's Silvestri. Super Mario Brothers score.
Yeah, I thought it was Ellen
Yeah, I think it's
Silvestri.
Silvestri. I love that score. This is the Silvestri score. Um, the
Yeah, Alan
Shadow,
Silvestri.
the Shadow in 1994. That would be on my list of underrated scores by Goldsmith. Underrated scores, period. I love that score. It fits the time period perfectly. It's adventurous. It's mysterious. Um, love that score. It's great. What do you think about the Shadow?
I remember not minding it, but I haven't seen the film in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I've only seen the film maybe once or twice in my life, so.
Congo had another solid score.
Yeah, Congo utilized the jungle themes well, and uh, that's another score that doesn't get talked about a lot,
No,
but just like the movie, I think it's a bit underrated.
I agree. Of course, Rudy, 1993. Rudy, that was a that's just the quintessential football score for a lot of people. Is Rudy. I'm not a super big fan of Rudy the film, but it is a great piece of music. I used it for a music video tribute I did to The Best of Times, a film with Kurt Russell and Robin Williams. In 1996, we have Star Trek: First Contact. The whole the whole score is fantastic. It's phenomenal, but the main titles in particular are some of my favorite work of his. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, it's a beautiful piece of music. It really is. What do you think about the score for First Contact?
Uh, I'm trying to hum that again.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun,
Oh
dun, dun,
yeah,
dun, dun.
yeah, that was a really good
Dun,
theme, and
dun.
Jerry Goldsmith does another wonderful job on the score,
Yes.
and it's a worthy score for that film.
I picked that score up recently actually. It's funny, it's one of those CDs that apparently is also a CD-ROM. So it doubles as a CD, but is also CD-ROM, which is crazy. It's out there. He did the score for Ghost in the Darkness, decent score. Um,
Yeah, it was
but
okay.
but I definitely would say Air Force One is a classic, which apparently he did on a very short schedule because the original composer got let go or something, and he had to just come up with a theme and come up with an entire score. And I thought he did a great job, especially like the main titles.
Yeah, me too.
The Edge, that was a decent one. Deep Rising.
Yeah, that was a score that had to grow on me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not as memorable as some of his other music, but it does have its moments. The climax, the stuff the score that's used in the climax and stuff, I like.
Yeah, I agree with that part.
It's, I would say I definitely like Air Force One and First Contact a little better.
Yeah,
I don't even remember what his score was for Executive Decision. I think I even said his score wasn't even great for that because I don't think it was.
it wasn't because we both saw the movie and we both said it.
Yeah.
Sally, I would say, is one of his worst scores,
Yeah.
but maybe he had nothing to work with either.
U.S. Marshals.
That's a film I want to give it. I mean, I like the movie. I want to give it another watch to listen to the score because I didn't even know Jerry Goldsmith did the score to that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The score for Small Soldiers. I think it was pretty good. I haven't seen Small Soldiers in years, though. Mulan. All right. I completely forgot he did the score for that. Haven't seen Mulan in a while either. But Insurrection, disappointing considering his work for First Contact.
Right.
But he didn't have a lot to work with. But in 1999, you had The Mummy, which I would say is arguably his last great score for me.
Sally, yeah. Because I'm looking at the 2000s. Sally, yeah. I would say that's his last great film.
Another opportunity for him to do an adventure score, but this time with a film that is essentially just, if you think about Rick O'Connell as basically Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
There's enough differences because he's not really an archaeologist,
Right.
but it's a similar sort of thing. And I've always liked that score. I grew up watching The Mummy, and I think it still holds up really well, as does the score. It really does. It fits the adventurous throwback vibe that the film has. It breathes a lot of life into it, and it's a big reason why the film works so well, because you have this just great score. I especially really like the bits of music that played at the end credits and during a lot of sequences that had to be like epic in size and scope, like the plagues and the climax and all of that.
The moment where he's fighting the mummies.
Yes, love
with
that.
the sword.
Love that piece of music, and I love that scene.
Yeah, me too.
The Haunting, sadly, no. He did the score for The Haunting.
No.
It's not that great. The movie sucks. The 13th Warrior. I'm not a big fan of the movie. I think it's disappointing. Score, it was okay, but...
The movie sucks.
And then in 2000, you have Hollow Man. It's not one of my favorite scores of his, but there are pieces of it that I do like because it's a horror film, so he's once again trying to flex some muscles, and it's like more of a straight up like R-rated horror movie, not like PG-13 The Haunting or
Poltergeist back in the day.
So this is like an R-rated hard R horror film.
Yeah, that was a pretty decent score.
Yeah, it was a pretty decent score, but I would say it's not up there with The Mummy, but
right.
It's a nice score. Along Came a Spider, I don't remember. The Last Castle, I can't really say much about. Sum of All Fears, I don't know. Nemesis was fine. I would say it was better than Insurrection. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
I didn't remember the music to either of those movies. I was too pissed to remember the music.
And then, sadly, a lot of his scores were rejected before he passed away. So he did Treasure Planet, and then the score was rejected. And the last score he did was for Looney Tunes Back in Action.
Or Timeline, which was rejected.
But the score that was actually accepted was...
Really, yeah. Looney Tunes Back in Action.
Which I don't remember.
Worked with Joe Dante again. I don't remember the music to that, Sally.
But yeah, it seems like there were a decent amount of scores that were rejected for when it comes to.
Gladiator from 1992.
Had Illumination, Legend, Babe, yeah.
Super Mario Brothers.
2 Days in the Valley.
Damn.
Oh, and apparently did the score for Mom and Dad Save the World. I forgot he did the score for that.
So did I. One of the decent parts of the movie.
Yeah. But yeah, I also want to mention a score for Forever Young. I thought that was a good score. I like that film. I haven't seen that film in years, but I remember liking it. It's a film with Mel Gibson. He gets cryogenically frozen, and he gets thawed out in the future, like in the 90s. It's kind of been forgotten about. Film all about forever, living forever, forever young,
Yeah.
It's just now it's a complete. It's just been lost in the ether. But yeah, he was very flexible and did a lot of different types of stuff. I mean, Mr. Baseball, Dennis the Menace, The Vanishing, Matinee. So yeah, there are there are a lot of scores that we liked from Jerry Goldsmith. So yeah, I just wanted to do a little tribute to Jerry, talk about some of our favorite scores from Jerry Goldsmith. Feel free to type in the comments down below your favorite scores. And yeah, that's all I have to say. That's all, folks.